Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome into the show. This is A Glitch in the Matrix, and I'm your host, Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. I'm so glad to see all you guys in here today. Oh my gosh, it's so great to be back. I had a fantastic New Year. Wow, I got to hang out with some old friends and shoot off bottle rockets on New Year's Eve and hang out with these really cool cats I got in the studio today. I've got Geryl and Jane Fountain here in the studio. We're going to be talking about dragons today. Wow. Dragons have been coming up in my life. So awesome. My mom is actually born the zodiac, I guess it's the zodiac sign of the Chinese zodiac, the year of the dragon. And it is the year of the dragon in the Chinese zodiac. Okay. So we're talking about dragons today, y'all. All right. So get your popcorn, buckle up, y'all. We've got some rabbit holes to dive down today, and it's going to be fantastic. Okay. Well, if you guys would like to follow along with what I do and all of my shows, I have a website that's called the cryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of your Cryptid Huntress needs over there on that website. Also, I have a podcast, y'all. I'm on season like 13 now, I think. And that is on all podcasting platforms. I'm still working on Apple. Okay, but the rest of them is there. So you guys can listen to me on podcast platforms now too. And I have a Patreon. If you'd like to support my work, that's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. Also, I have a shop that's called War Woman Goods over on Etsy. So I appreciate all your love and support, especially through the holiday season. It really means the world to me. Okay. All right, well, without further ado, let's get into today's topic, okay? Because we have such a short amount of time and so much information to discuss with you guys today. Dragons have been depicted in art and books for centuries. We have all been taught that dragons are simply mythical creatures from fairy tales, yet cultures from across the world have representations of dragons. Could dragons have lived among humans with their existence covered up by modern-day teachings, as the truth was suppressed? On this episode, we've got Geryl and Jane here, and we're going to talk about the dragons and the mythical creatures, which I think were real. Okay, that's my opinion, of the old world. Midwest Night Watchers started with a love of the outdoors and stargazing while enjoying a backyard fire pit. Geryl and Jane began filming strange activity and anomalies in the night sky. They created their YouTube channel and Facebook group to share their findings with friends and family, which grew into their podcast, Piercing the Veil. And if you guys have not subscribed to Midwest Night Watchers and Chi-Rho Sounds, y'all go do that. Okay, and please help me welcome to the show today my friends, Geryl and Jane Fountain. Hey, y'all.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jessica, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, man. I have such a great time when you guys are here. We have a really good time. So, and I know y'all know a little something about dragons, right?
Oh, yeah.
I know Geryl does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been a fascination, growing up watching sci-fi movies. They're always in the movies and in the books that I read, about knights and dragons. And I'm like you, they are protected. They're projected to be a mythical or fantasy, but I there's just so much information about them in books and history that I really think they may have existed at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. I really do too, because we see so many depictions of dragons. I mean, this is the year of the dragon in the Chinese zodiac, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit here. But they say that that's like the only mythological animal in the whole Chinese zodiac. But if you go back and look at all this artwork and stuff, especially Asian themed artwork, Okay, a lot of Chinese art. There's a lot of dragons, and they're not just flying dragons. They're aquatic dragons. There's all sorts of different dragons, and some of them have like a dog face. They look like a chimera of some sort, almost like a whole bunch of different animals combined.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me give a little kind of a definition of dragons. And okay, I got to make a note about doing research on dragons online. Okay, because everything you pull up these days, the first 5, I'm going to say like 5 different sites, at least 3. It's all Wikipedia. Okay, now,
Yeah.
I got to say, I think that's controlled. Okay, and that's what whoever the controllers are want us to know or think about these things. It just like when after this video today, we're probably going to get one of those wiki facts
Probably.
Yeah.
probably underneath the video. And if we do, y'all know it's real. Okay, just like with the reptilian humanoid stuff, there are key words. I believe that dragon might be one of those, y'all. So we're going to find out. Okay, so basically, you have to kind of go past the Wikipedia stuff, okay, when you're doing research on things, just to get other opinions on this stuff. Okay, I'm just putting that out there, y'all. Whoever's watching this and listening today, but I'm going to read kind of a definition. Okay, dragon in the mythologies, legends, and folk tales of various cultures are large lizard or serpent-like creatures conceived in some traditions as evil and in others as benevolent. In medieval Europe, dragons were usually depicted with wings and a barbed tail and as breathing fire. In Greece, the word drakon was from the English word, from which the English word was derived, was originally for any large serpent, like a sea serpent. And the dragon of mythology, whatever shape it later assumed, remained essentially a snake. Okay, and they do look kind of like a snake, right? A lot of them do. It just, especially the ones out of China, like the Chinese depictions, they look like a snake that flies in the air or floats around. So, but okay, in general, in the Middle East, snakes have a large identity, they're large and deadly. The serpent or the dragon was symbolic of the principle of evil. Okay, it's just like in the United States here, we think of a dragon, we think of castles and a dragon with wings going and blowing fire all over a castle and melting everything, like on Game of Thrones. Right. Okay. And yeah, that's true. They do tie into the Nagas as well, James. That's right. Which are serpent/human chimeras, basically. Okay, like Medusa. Okay, that's kind of like what a Naga is. Think of Medusa. But in China, the dragon was seen as benevolent and good luck. Okay, so it's kind of got like a different symbolism in different parts of the world. Okay, and now we have pictures for the people who are watching today online. We do have some general representations of what we know as dragons, and that is just like a big reptile with wings. Okay, and sometimes they have a beautiful woman with long flowing hair riding on their backs, and it's usually a woman, right? Just like Daenerys on, I think it was Daenerys. Is that her name? Or Khaleesi? Khaleesi, right? Khaleesi on Game of Thrones. She was the mother of dragons.
Mother of dragons.
Yeah. So, but these are kind of what we would think of when we think of dragons, right? The golden dragon. I mean, some people that I know actually kind of channel the dragons for power and prosperity and stuff like that when you're doing like energy healings. Okay.
Yeah, that's why the Chinese picked a dragon for the New Year's animal, because this year, the 2024, is supposed to be prosperity and just a wealth of good supposed to happen this year.
Geryl, let's talk about that, okay? Because there are a lot of serpents or dragons that are depicted in Chinese zodiac. And the Chinese dragon is a mythological animal. They say that it's mythological, like when you do your research on this, right? This is I love this dragon. It looks like a snake, okay? But it's considered a symbol of the Chinese people, okay? And Usually the Chinese dragon has a snake's tail, a dog's muzzle, deer horns, lobster eyes, lion's mane, and eagle claws. I mean, that's a lot. It kind of sounds like a combination. I mean, this is like an old world type of an animal. Okay. And they say this mythological. I don't know. I think there might be some evidence that they're not all mythological. Okay. But in Chinese culture, they say they're mythological. And let's see, bring together. They have like 9 different types of dragons. Okay,
Wow.
9 different types of dragons in China. Now, and I did say that this is the year of the dragon. Okay, and for people who aren't familiar with the Chinese zodiac, I mean, I was going to tell y'all what animal I am, but then you're going to know how old I am. Okay, so it gives away your birth year. Okay, because each year is a different animal.
I'm the year of the rabbit, so I guess that's why I like going down rabbit holes so much.
That would make sense. That would make sense totally. But yeah, okay. I was reading that even some people in China claim that they are descended from dragons.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting. So you heard that?
Chinese, the culture has dragons all through. So if you want to look up the earliest transcripts, of dragons, you go to Chinese culture because it's been out through all their dynasties, dragons. And also if you go down the rabbit hole, just like I was talking, there's a faction in China with the red dragons and the white dragons. One family they're both trying to rule the world, supposedly, if you go down these rabbit holes. So one's fighting for good and one's fighting for the other side. So that's a good rabbit hole to go down if you want to look up red and white dragons.
Isn't there a green dragon too, though?
There's other factions that go off of that. There's black, there's green, but the red and the white are the main 2 that are trying to. And they're the families are supposedly tied in with the dragons, like you were talking.
Wow.
And that's interesting.
Okay, well, there have been times, and there's still to this day, it says the Chinese people will make offerings to the mythological beings of the dragon in times of drought, and it would bring rain. And, it's just like with any kind of power animal, I guess. But it's so interesting. I mean, I know that I think they should put a Bigfoot on their zodiac. Okay.
Yeah.
Why not? But
we could make a cryptid zodiac. We have the dog man, Mothman. We could have all of them on there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's a great idea. But it's just a symbol of good fortune, greatness, and wisdom. Okay. But see, like here in our culture over here, we think of dragons, we think of like destruction and death and things getting burnt to the ground and burnt to a crisp because
right.
They're going to come and destroy everything. Okay.
Not only is Chinese New Year the dragon, the animal, but it's also said to be the wood dragon, which is an element of the earth. So you have the prosperity, the newness of earth, and the wood and the trees growing and the saplings. So it's the wood element also of the wood dragon.
That's interesting.
It is. Oh, interesting. Okay, so James is asking, do you know if jade ties into the Chinese beliefs with dragons? Well, that's interesting you say that because I do have a jade bracelet that has a dragon on it, and a piece of jade, a jade necklace, like a pendant that's a dragon. Okay, so there's a connection there, and jade is green usually, not always, but jade's green till at night.
There's lots of sculptures out of dragons made out of jade.
Well, come to think of it, the dragons that we have that I used to sell a few years ago, a lot of them were jade. I didn't realize there was a connection. A lot of the dragon carvings would end up being out of jade. Wow, interesting.
Totally interesting. Okay. Now us 3 have actually talked on a show in the past about the creatures of the old world. And that includes Bigfoot, dog-headed men, blemmies. Blemmies. I love blemmies. And for y'all who don't know what a blemmy is, it's
blemmies are cute.
Yeah, a blimmy is like a humanoid body with just a torso with no neck and no head, but the face sits in the middle of the chest. Okay, so it's almost like a Humpty Dumpty looking kind of thing. All right, but they say that they lived during the old world times. Now we did discuss that these things potentially were real. They have been
Right.
noted on maps of the old
Mhm.
world. We discussed the Tartarian giants and the Tartarian Empire. I mean, you can go back to the mud floods and things, and some
Yeah.
people are still on
Exactly.
the fence as to whether they believe that stuff. But the more I'm digging into this stuff, the more probable that these things were real becomes.
Mhm.
Yeah, not only did we shared on the last episode about the map with all the creatures on it, but it had dragons on those too, and
Yeah.
unicorns. So I need a question of whether unicorns are actually real. If this is really a depiction of what they saw and where they were living, and
Mhm.
just like some of the photos I sent you back at like you had Marco Polo, the book of the marvels of the world from the 1400s. It has dragons in those.
Mhm. That's right. Well, we have these are some of the excerpts from some of the books that you sent, or the pages from the book that you sent. I have a couple of them actually. Um, but yeah, there it depicts dragons. A lot of these books depict dragons. Also, whoops, wrong one. Let's go to the next. Okay. I mean, we have dragons in a lot of book. Now, these are not in our school books, okay, that we have
No,
today.
this
We're
one's actually from the Marco Polo, and these are all hand painted illustrations from supposedly their trips.
Okay, that one, those have two dragons eating somebody in the background. Okay.
Well, they offered gifts to the
Oh,
dragons.
sacrifices. Okay.
Oh, offering
Okay.
their children.
Well, you know what? That's okay.
Ew.
So, well, we're going to get into Saint George here as well. Okay, Saint George.
Oh,
There's a very famous painting of from I think it's 1490, and it's of Saint George, and he is slaying a dragon. Okay, let me find the information on this. Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna dive into this because there's a lot of
wow.
symbolism in this painting, and so this is an oil on wood painting by Italian high Renaissance artist Raphael, painted in 1505. I saw somewhere else it was painted in the 1490s. Okay, so maybe this is a painting from another painting. I don't know. Maybe they saw. I guess this is original. Anyway, this is around 1500, y'all. Okay, but it's now in the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. But it's showing Saint George and the Dragon, combining chivalry and Christianity. It says, well, it's talking about being a proprietor of a band of mercenary soldiers. Okay. It says, despite what one might expect, St. George had nothing to do with the dragon slaying legend. Although the exact details are hazy, the last great Christian persecution, St. George, during the last great Christian persecution, St. George refused to denounce his Christian faith and was punished as a result. He was tempted with promises of wealth if he converted, or in another version, tortured him for years. Yet his refusal to renounce his faith inspired the conversion of others to Christianity. Okay, so basically what they're saying is that he's on this white horse and he's slaying the dragon. Now, the dragon, to a lot of symbolism in art, is symbolized, especially in Christian paintings, is the dragon is the devil. Okay, or
Right.
it's evil, it's a demon, right? So that's the excuse, or that is the explanation as to why there are dragons in a lot of Renaissance era paintings and medieval paintings. It has to do with paganism, and also it's paganism. Okay, it's not just the devil or a demon, it's paganism. Okay, is what he's defeating, according to what the word in the books are. Okay,
I
so
mean, you could just look at that picture and take it as good and evil. The white horse and the conqueror. The Christian, or saving the maiden in the back. From the dragon, the bad, the evil. But I mean, why are all these symbols of dragons though in all these cultures and all this artwork. It's got to be more than just good and evil. I would think, because they could have put any kind of creature there instead of the dragon.
Right.
Right. Okay. So him being a dragon slayer started becoming popular. Okay. A millennium later, it says, George's escapades as a dragon slayer wouldn't be introduced until almost a millennium later, when his status as one of the 14 holy helpers and a prominent military saint would usher in a revival of his influence during the 11th century Crusades. The story of St. George and the Dragon would materialize during this period, and the myth would pass into folklore across the Christian world. The legend goes, now this is the story behind this. The legend goes that the dragon was terrorizing the city of Selene, which is modern-day Libya, demanding sacrifices of sheep to keep the monster satisfied. Soon the town ran out of sheep to give it, and began to instead resort to offering human sacrifices to keep the dragon happy. When the king's daughter was chosen as a sacrifice, St. George happened to be passing through. He offered to slay the dragon, and upon confronting the monster, he thrust his lance through a weak point in its scaly armor. So that's how it became famous. Now, we all know that history gets, changed a little bit. Okay, stories get changed. Things are left to be interpreted by the people who are telling the story. Okay, but there are so many depictions of dragons. It's not all. I mean, this puts a religious spin on it. Okay, for sure. This is very religious. But could there be a cover up? Could there have really been dragons back then? What do y'all think?
I think so.
Look at all their shields and all their in the hierarchy of England and Europe, of all the dragons that are on shields and their family name crests. There's this tons of different dragons, and that could be for power and wealth, as a strong animal. But I still think that everything goes back to being real, that dragons existed in the medieval times and even before, and that's why it's in the Chinese culture.
Yeah. Okay, well, we actually have a stained glass window. I believe this is Notre Dame, okay, but it's Notre Dame, okay. In the cathedral there is a depiction of St. George slaying a dragon, okay, and of course, draconians are related to a dragon. Yes, of course. It's what we're taught is the representation of Christianity slaying paganism, basically. Okay. I just got to say, I'm a little suspicious. That's all. A little suspicious because it can be interpreted differently. Okay. If these things were real, and I believe they might be. Now, there's also a period during the Renaissance era where women were being painted with dragons in their laps. Now, we had talked about this previously when we were on Spaced Out Radio, us three. We had talked about how women were having pictures painted of them holding a dog, a lap dog. But then it became in vogue. Okay, it became very stylish to plop a dragon down in there on her lap instead of a dog. But it was for almost like a joke, according to what they say. Maybe they really had dragons.
Baby dragons?
We don't know.
Yes. Yeah. How are we to know? Other than all this, because we're told to not believe what our eyes are seeing.
Yeah.
and like, oh, it's just a joke, bunch of practical jokes back then. All these ladies holding dragons. Who would hold a baby dragon? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've held a baby alligator, I believe, when I was a kid. Like holding. You can go to Florida and like hold a little baby alligator that has tape on its mouth. So, what's the difference?
If you were going to have a family portrait or some portrait of, why wouldn't you pick a loving and kind animal? Whether it's a dog, a cat, or
bunny,
some other kind of a dragon. Why did they all pick dragons?
Right.
There's
got to be a reason behind it.
Because dragons are badass. That's why.
That is true.
And they were probably pretty rare too. I got to think, like, there probably weren't as many dragons as there were puppy dogs running around. I would think that dragons are rare. And speaking of which, There is a newspaper article. It's not a newspaper article. This is from a dictionary. Okay. There is a dictionary entry, and it's talking about dragons. It says now rare. Okay. Now I'm not exactly sure which year this is from. However, the very first entry is to the definition of a dragon. It says dragon, number 1, now rare, and it says a huge serpent. And number 2 is a fabulous animal, generally a monstrous winged scaly serpent, lizard, or saurian. It's also a fierce or lazy, strict person. It says, oh my gosh, I didn't read this before. It says it's number 3 is a fierce or very strict person, especially a woman. Very strict person. Okay. But that's interesting. That would be in a dictionary. Dragon as represented in heraldry. Okay. Now, dragons have been represented on shields. Okay.
Yep.
Especially over like in Welsh shields. I don't know, Scottish potentially, but definitely Welsh. Right. My family's Welsh. Okay. And Scottish. But it's depicted on shields. It's depicted on architecture. They're depicted everywhere. Okay. Everywhere. Especially from the old world. Okay. So.
Well, and like you said before, we can't forget about the water serpent, because you have all the Vikings and the people that traveled across the seas, and all the old depictions of them that their boats, they had dragons on the front of them. They showed dragons of being battled in the water.
That is correct. They sure did. And the dragons did. I mean, if you want to go travel across the world to talk about dragons or to see dragons depicted in different places, I found pictures of, I believe this is in London. Okay. They're all over London. All right. All over Europe.
Wow.
These are some beautiful pieces of art on the side of buildings. And also, this is either Mayan or Aztec. Okay. This is down in Central America. So I believe that might be a dragon.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just a little
interesting.
Taste, okay. A little taste of dragons because they are everywhere. Now, I'm trying to keep this moving because we've got a lot to talk about. But we also have the idea of dragons being fossilized, like mud fossils. If you guys are familiar with mud fossils, Geryl, you know what mud fossils are, right?
Right. Yeah. We've got into Tartarian mud floods and the petrified resemblance, whether it's giants or reptilians or dragons. We've seen all those pictures. Giant snakes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, can you kind of tell the audience what the mud fossils are then, and like kind of what your idea of them is, because you probably know more than I do about it.
Well, it just depends on where you go, to look up your information.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's all part of the Tartarian mud flood and the reset, where you have these existing animals, whether giants or large snakes or even dragons. And the mud flood came in as a reset, and they all got trapped in the mud, and obviously they fossilized, or they became petrified, if you want to use that word, just like you'd find in the redwoods, petrified wood and stuff. So they turned to stone or mineral, and that's the depiction you've been showing on some of these pictures.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Man, I knew you'd know what those are. Thank you so much. Okay, so mud fossils. Now that's something that I'm really into, and I've actually done a couple of shows on petrified giants. And some people say like the Sleeping Lady mountain range. That's actually a titan.
Yep.
They call them titans. They're giant humans that roam this earth. Just like with those giant trees that they call mesas now. That have been cut.
Right.
And it's just so much that's hidden from us that potentially. I mean, it's like we're little ants living in a Titan's world, but the Titans are all gone now. Okay.
And it's all across the world. I mean, in the mountain ranges, you see, you have the sleeping man, the sleeping woman, you have the reptiles, you have the dragons and the sleeping giant. I mean, they're like shapes, and there's no, I mean, if that is natural, how could you have chiseled that more precise to look like a human or a giant laying on a mountain or sleeping?
Exactly. Okay, Maureen, thank you so much for that super sticker, the girl and her gong. I appreciate that so much. That's very sweet of you. Okay, yes. Okay, let me show some pictures of the mud fossils here because I have two that could potentially be dragons. Okay. This is an interesting one. Okay, this is an
Wow.
interesting one. They look like rocks. They look like part of the mountains, but maybe they are the mountains. Okay. Now this one does look like a dragon looking up or a T-Rex potentially. What do you guys think? I know this is another rabbit hole. What do y'all think about dragons potentially being what we consider to be dinosaurs are today? Because I mean, I've got this one actually looks like a dragon too.
Yeah.
This is a mud fossil. Okay. But what do y'all think about dragons potentially being just what we consider to be dinosaurs?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I think. Go ahead, Jane.
I was just going to say all the shows that we've watched for many years, and we watch a wide variety of YouTube shows. I'm hearing from several different people that they're wondering if dinosaurs was never real, that they're covering up the dragons and saying that these are dinosaurs, but if you look at all those skeletons and bones, you put wings on them, you're going to get a dragon.
Yeah.
They just didn't put the wings on.
Yes. Okay. And now, what about? I know y'all have heard this because I've heard this with the dinosaur bones and all the museums. Okay, and I love going to the museums. We have one here in Cartersville. Gosh, what is the name of that museum? I used to go all the time and take my son. Oh, the Tellus Museum. They have dinosaur bones there, but I've been told that a lot of those bones are replica bones. They can't put the actual bones in a museum because they're full of radiation, and if they're real bones, they're covered in lead paint to keep the radiation from getting on people. I mean, that's odd, right?
I've heard that from several different sources. Yes, and it does make sense.
Well, they say that's how they check the authenticity of the bones, and obviously the carbon dating, it comes off of the radiation. So if it's been buried in the earth for a long time, it's going to have natural radiation in it.
Yeah.
That's true. But it is a little strange. It's definitely a little bit strange. Brian, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate that. Ye dragons of old, good and bad. Yes. Dragons are a hot topic right now. Okay, super hot topic. Not only is it because it's the year of the dragon, but we're seeing dragons depicted in a lot of TV shows. And for whatever reason, it's just in the collective consciousness, I assume. And I was given a blind remote viewing target a while back, and it was by a couple of my friends, Tanya and Norma Jean. And they have a show over on Rumble. And I can't remember the name of their show, right? But they're good friends of mine. Okay. And actually, I just met them this past year, and we met at the Etowah Indian Mounds. Those are a couple of the women that I met there that do grid work all over the country and all over other countries. They gave me a blind target, and it turns out it's some island. Okay, I don't have my notes with me with what this target was, but it was some island. They had me talk about my data live on air, and I had no idea what the target was. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh God, I'm probably totally off. I don't know what this target is. It turns out it was basically an island that had a sleeping giant on it, like a Titan giant dragon.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So maybe after this show, I will put the link to that Rumble show in the comments. Yeah. Okay. I just got to remember to do that. But yeah, my data was right on target, y'all. It was right on target. I do believe that some of these islands, I think the land masses, I think a lot of them could be petrified dragons and stuff. I mean, I can't prove it.
Go into Native American, like you were just talking about, they have the rock people. They talk about them. So it's like a rock formation that comes back to life, and and fights and. So I mean, dragons could be part of that. I mean, there's all kinds of things in literature and history where rock or formations come back to life and they turn in either to the monsters. If you go into mythological for the Greek and Romans, that era, they had all kinds of things coming to life out of rocks and fighting and battling them. So it's just all tied together that you think, okay, could this have really happened? Could this really exist? Why would they put this in books and in movies and talk about it? And it's in all these different cultures.
It is. It is. John has a good point too. An interesting comment. Dinosaurs were more feathered. Probably look more like I can't pronounce that word. Quetzalcoatl. Okay. So yes. Yeah. Some people say that the dinosaurs did have feathers on them. I believe they totally did. I think that some of the dragons had feathers. Maybe. I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they could have.
I mean, they could have protective armor and scales, and they can also have feathers on their wings or on their back or whatever. But there's, and plus, like we talked, there's also water serpents that are dragons that don't have the wings.
Yeah.
Right. Like Loch Ness.
Yes, like the Loch Ness Monster. That's right. Yeah, that's one of my favorite exhibits to go to at the Tellus Museum in Georgia. They have one of the dinosaurs. Is it a plesiosaurus or a plesiosaur? And it looks just like the Loch Ness Monster. And they have, I guess, I'm assuming they're the replica bones of one. But they have that there. And that's my favorite thing to go see there. And I think of Nessie every time I'm in there. But yeah, super interesting. Now,
in researching this, I've actually saw some videos of people, and there's one that comes from over by China where a guy went plunking into a cave. And he actually filmed a white, about 3 or 4 foot long. It looked like a dragon. It had front legs and back legs, and it was real long and slender and had a dragon's head, and it was in the water going. And that's on video. Whether it's fake or not, I don't know, but it looked real to me.
Okay. Are you referring to the one that they claimed it was a giant salamander?
Yes.
It looks like a dragon. It totally looks like a dragon. I don't know what a large, I did not do my research, but I've seen that video. It's very popular. You guys have probably seen that. It kind of slides out very gracefully from the cave.
Wow.
In the back of the cave. And it looks like newts. Yeah, it's like a big I mean, it's a gigantic, if that's a salamander, that's a gigantic freaking salamander.
Yeah.
Okay. And salamanders, I didn't know they lived in gigantic caves, but I mean, salamanders are known to live in ponds, if I'm not mistaken, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's worth looking for. Hey, if I can find that link, I will put it in the comments after the show today too. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make the list. Y'all, somebody help me make a list. Okay. Somebody that's watching. I know my mom's watching. Mom, please make me a list. Okay. So yeah, we'll put some of these links up for everybody. And but yeah, that's a giant. They say that's a giant salamander. There's always, and it might be. I mean, there's always an explanation, right?
Right.
For all this stuff. But now, what is the explanation of all of the artwork on the walls, like the native Aborigines, like Aboriginal artwork and stuff that depicts possible dragons and dinosaurs? I mean, people only drew what they saw. In my opinion.
I don't think they were known to be hoaxers back then.
Mm-mm. I mean, they're probably hoaxers back in the day. They're always around. Okay.
but as many dinosaurs as you see, it just, why? Why would they have so many pictures of different dragons and dinosaurs? And
yeah, I mean,
giant birds. Yeah, all the giant bird pictures.
Yes, there's a lot of things that defy modern day explanations out of our textbooks with those Rockefeller educations or Rockefeller Foundation stuff we got going on. Basically, history there's a possibility that history has been changed a little bit,
right?
And we're not taught the whole truth. Now we're shown possible truths in movies like, what is this, Jurassic Park? Okay.
Yeah.
Velociraptors and T-Rexes living amongst humans. I mean, I've heard that there's actually an island off the coast somewhere in Asia, okay, off the coast of China is what I heard, where they have a Jurassic Park. Okay.
I believe it. Yeah.
They
That would
named
not
them
surprise me.
Just look at the islands now. You know, you have the Komodo dragons. I mean, those things are huge.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that they termed it dragon. I mean, they could have named it anything, but it obviously depicts a living dragon. So these big lizards, Komodo dragons, I mean, obviously came back from medieval times or ancient times. That okay, they named it dragon because that was the reference that it came from.
That's right. Everyone knew of dragons, but no one had ever heard the term dinosaur until the 1800s.
Right.
So everything could have been a dinosaur for sure back then.
And then they all suddenly changed shape and looked totally different. And they smoothed them down and just little by little got rid of the dragons.
Yeah. Now, what would be the purpose of that being hidden from us if dragons were real? What, is it just all about control, or is there something more?
Well, I mean, obviously, just like the Chinese have the year of the dragon for this year, for prosperity and good luck. So there's that mythological good fortune and everything. So maybe there is magic in dragons.
Yeah.
And it's like everything else. They try to keep the secret. If you tie into the dragon folklore and get into the mystical part of it, maybe there is power in the dragon.
I think so. Yeah. Anything that's magical has kind of been left out or covered up, and that was apparent in the show that we talked about the unicorns, the blemmies, Bigfoot even. I mean,
right.
But it's interesting that people are still, and myself included, we're having modern day Bigfoot sightings. Okay, and those things were on the maps back in the Middle Ages. So we're dog-headed men, and we talk about dog men all the time, and there's dog man sightings all the time in modern day. But anybody who talks about it used to be anybody who talked about it was a crazy person. Okay, you were laughed out of town if you talked about anything that had to do with a Bigfoot or a dog man. Okay, now it's more accepted, but I feel like that's by design. Like we were kind of taught to make fun of people for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just like your Jurassic Park island you were talking about, there is so much wilderness still in the jungles, and even in the United States, there's such vast valleys and stuff. And Alaska is just a complete wilderness in the middle and out there in the northern frontier that we don't know. They say there's woolly mammoths still in Alaska.
Right.
That's right. They do. We really don't know what's out there. Now we even get reports of velociraptors in the Appalachian Mountains to this day. Okay, and pterosaur sightings as well. Pterosaurs, pterodactyls, all over the country, all over North America, all over Central America and South America. There are pterosaur sightings.
Also dragons. I mean, whether they're the same thing and they're just terming them different words, but I mean, if you go out and search like we did for this show and previous, that you'll see videos of people filming, with their phones or whatever, of what looks like a dragon flying. Now, could it be a thunderbird or any of those others? Yeah, possibly, but man, they look like dragons when I watch those videos.
Yeah, I've heard a couple reports too that they're, they have a relative or something that come in and they said, I just saw a dragon. It was definitely a dragon.
Wow. Well, what if a pterosaur is a dragon and a dragon's a pterosaur?
Right. I know. That's what I said. It just depends on the word, because everybody describes stuff of what they know, what their mind can make sense of, and whether, this person sees a dragon or this person sees a large bird.
There's so many different kinds of dragons, they're different shaped and they all look different.
That's right. That's a great comment, Moon at Noon. The more facts you find out about history, the more you understand that we don't know a damn thing.
Yeah.
And I say that about my field research too, is the more that we're out there researching, the more evidence we're getting, the more interactions we're getting with cryptids, the less we really know. Okay. Because we're running into like portals and UFOs and ETs and stuff are connected with the cryptids out there, like the Bigfoots and stuff. It's just all a big old melting pot of craziness, of a lot of interesting stuff. And if we're seeing this thing today, if we're seeing cryptids today that were depicted back in the 1400s and beyond, way before that, there's something to it. Okay, there's something to it. And it makes me wonder, were people, if women were getting their portraits painted with a dragon on their lap, was it really that, was it to be funny, or was it that a sign of like high society?
Right.
Could it be good luck?
It's definitely wealth and power. I mean,
Yeah.
but just like the shows we've had before where we've talked, or even behind the scenes where we talk about timelines and everything mixed up. Well, what if a portal or a timeline, or just like our show, piercing the veil? What if the veil got thin and dragons came through to our existing world?
Okay, that's a great point, because I do remember, I think I messaged you yesterday, Geryl, and I was like, I really like this timeline that we're on. Okay, I really like this timeline, because now we're talking dragons. Like, dragons were real. Okay, I think all these cryptids from all the way back. Like, I'm on a timeline now where, wow, I mean, this is just kind of common knowledge that a lot of this stuff was actually real, and it's all depicted. I mean, I don't remember ever. I think, now, was it a timeline switch for me, or has it always been there and I'm just becoming aware of it all? You know? Yeah, it's just weird how it just kind of it's all coming out right now. People are posting this stuff on the internet and all over TikTok and Instagram. And there is a fantastic YouTube channel. I want to give this guy credit. The Improbable Dreamer has some of the best videos, okay, with a lot of this stuff. And there's several very amazing YouTube channels where they talk about the old world deception, okay, like the timeline deception. I'm not saying the old world's deception, but the cover up of what the old world was like, okay, and all these big cities. And if you guys will think back and go back and look at some of my old videos, Jesus Payan Jr. came on my show, and we had a conversation. We've had conversations. He's the one that opened me up to all of this. And he talked about star forts, which are becoming more popular now. Star forts, the timeline deception with places like San Francisco and San Diego being metropolises back when they were supposedly just a couple of hundred people living there. Gold mine. Okay, so something's fishy.
Yeah, he was on our show not very long, and we talked about mud floods in Tartaria, and now he's going to come back after the first year, right around the same time you're going to be on our show. He's going to come back and talk about the temple that he's found out in the desert past where he lives.
Ooh, nice. Okay, well, that just reminded me of something too. Okay, so I did a show with Dennis Carroll. Love Dennis. And Dennis, we were talking about the lizard city, the lizard people city underneath Los Angeles. And I do remember doing some research on that. And from some of the stories that I read, they were saying that the people went underground because a dragon came out of the sky and blew fire and decimated the entire area with fire. And so it was a dragon. Now, that was interpreted as, I mean, could that have been like a directed energy weapon? Or could it have been something like that? Because that's how it was described, was a dragon. Now, if dragons were real, it'd be safe for me to say maybe it was real. Maybe it was a dragon. Maybe it didn't need to be interpreted as possibly a directed energy weapon back in those days. Okay, maybe the dragon was the directed energy weapon.
Yeah, look at all the movies that have that similar, that a dragon comes and destroys the city.
Wow.
Well, I was just going to say that, if you look at all the soft disclosures in the red pills in the movies in Hollywood, go back to when I was a kid, I talked about sci-fi movies. Well, there was a movie about the mole people, and they went underground because of just what you were talking about the destruction and the war and violence going on the earth, on the top surface, that they went underground and lived to be peaceful, and they talked about like a nuclear blast. But it could have been a direct energy weapon.
Or a dragon.
Or a dragon, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. We're not ever going to get the truth out of the controllers. Okay. Whoever's controlling all the information and the data here. Okay. So that's why I love talking about this stuff. I mean, I just think it's fascinating. And also, we have dragons mentioned in the Bible. And Susan in the chat, hey Susan, she had mentioned that dragons had been mentioned in the Bible. And my
Oh yeah.
mother actually sent me this morning. And so Revelation 12:3 reads, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, a wonder, not wander, not wander, it's a wonder. And behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon its head." Later in Revelation 22, the text calls Satan a dragon. It states that the dragon will be bound for 1,000 years. Okay. So, I mean, basically the devil was a dragon. Okay, I believe.
Yep. And
Okay.
you had the lady coming back on the red dragon in the Bible.
Ooh, and wasn't there like a red lady on Game of Thrones? Was it? She was the Red Witch or something, I guess. I don't know. I'm not calling her a dragon, but okay.
Well, and then it goes
Maybe
back
there's
to
no
all the
connection.
artwork that you were showing where you're, ladies on dragons. They were showing ladies on dragons and all that medieval artwork.
There's always a lady on a dragon, just like Khaleesi. Okay.
Yep.
The mother of dragons. So what's up with that? I mean, would a dragon be more of a masculine type of energy and the woman on riding it would be the feminine energy? I don't know. We could get into some symbolism there. I'm not sure where that's going. I'm just saying it's the woman controlling that masculine rage,
Well,
that fiery passion.
Every behind good man, there's always a woman in charge. So
that's right. That's right. That's what they say. That's what they say.
Maybe the dragons were females.
They could be too. That's right.
Right.
Could be females. Yeah. Yes. I could breathe fire on people at times if I wanted to, but I don't. I haven't yet. Okay. I haven't yet.
Your inner dragon.
Yeah, that's too funny. Oh, okay. Let's see. Christ light and love. Christ light and love. I love that. I love that. Kuan Yin is supposed to return riding a dragon. That's Buddhist prophecy. Interesting. Wow. Okay. And we also have another comment here. Oh, the Phoenix says, "I'm a dragon, but bloodline. I've seen red dragon. My ex is a black dragon." Yeah, there are a lot of people who say that they are of a dragon lineage, right. Especially people with Chinese heritage, actually, say that they are of a dragon lineage, which is really cool. Let's see, I saw a couple of more comments I wanted to pull up. Jessica Fibonacci says, "The yin yang is the 2 dragons for balance." Wow, that's really cool too.
Which means there's good dragons and bad dragons. They're not just all evil, fire-breathing dragons killing everyone.
Yes.
There must have been good ones also.
There's got to be a balance always in everything. There's usually the balance. So,
you were talking about, the forces behind the scene trying to hide this or misdirect us, but I mean, they leave out the fact that all these people are becoming open-minded and starting to receive data. And so we get it regardless if they try to hide it or not. We whether you want to consider it downloads or connecting to your higher consciousness. And I mean, this all starts becoming connected and making sense to people. And we're starting to get information. It's like, I say this all the time. I'll say something and Jane goes, "Well, where'd that come from?" And it's like, really, I don't know. It just popped into my head, and then we start looking it up and researching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the collective consciousness. Anne-Marie, hey Anne-Marie, I'm so glad you're here. She says, "Dragons show up for me when I need them and when I am clearing dark entities."
Oh.
I've heard that from several people. And Abby Lynn actually works with dragons too, a friend of mine who spoke at the Journey to Truth conference that I was at in Illinois. She's awesome. You guys check her out too. Anne-Marie's got the Art of Healing. Y'all go subscribe over to her YouTube channel, okay, too, and go find Abby Lynn. They both work with dragons. And my friend Tanya Braddock, who's done some shows with us over here at the Cryptid Hunters channel. Tanya's a remote viewer. She works with dragons. actually, as well. So she said that the golden dragon has been showing up in her life a lot lately, and she flipped out yesterday when she
Ooh.
saw the dragon that I used for the artwork for our show today. She said, "Oh my gosh, the golden dragon has been showing up."
And
It's
it
very
looks
synchronistic.
kind. It looks gentle. It looks like it's smiling.
That one looks like a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one looks like the good one. Yeah, my favorite part actually of Game of Thrones was when the dragons would show up, and I think
Yeah.
that was the same for a
Right.
lot of people. Not when this happened, when they went on a rampage. Um, but that was a really cool movie to get the dragons out there. And of course, we have like a super popular game that a lot of people to this day play. That's called Dungeons and Dragons. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dragons are all over pop culture today. And in fairy tales, you know, because we're taught that dragons are just fairy tales, and part
Right.
of fairy tales and castles. I mean, somewhere that I was listening to or watching, I think it was The Improbable Dreamer, had mentioned something about melted castles. Okay. Now,
Right.
apparently there's some melted castles. Castle dudes in the chat today. Hey, Castle dude, you know,
Hi, Neil.
he knows all about castles. And, but according to what The Improbable Dreamer said that I was watching, here goes my light. Okay,
Uh-oh.
there we go. I kicked my plug. But he was talking about melted castles, and I'm not familiar with melted castles. Okay. There he is. I'm not familiar with those, but I mean, if there are castles that have been melted, what if those were from dragons?
Right.
Right.
That's what was being insinuated.
Well, you got to figure, you know, all the stories of the knights fighting dragons, and that's because they came and attacked castles. This like us in America now, we've wiped out, or we keep venturing out our suburbs in natural habitat of animals. So it could have happened during the medieval times where they kept building these kingdoms and castles and forts, and they had dragons, you know, pushing back about taking over their territory.
That's right. Okay, I've got something else to throw in the mix.
Uh-oh.
What if we had castles here in the United States from a long time ago? What if we had castles here? I'm just putting it out there, and they've all been kind of repurposed as asylums and prisons and universities and breweries. Okay, that's something else that Jesus Payan Jr. brought to my attention. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you look down the rabbit hole and research Tartarian mud floods, you see all the old technologies and castles and architecture that, like, okay, people that this came here as settlers went across the U.S. and all of a sudden there's these great big mansions and giant architect on the buildings, and everybody else is living in log homes and frontier.
Right.
I know.
Don't make sense.
It doesn't add up. Some of it just
Right.
doesn't kind of add up. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not one to believe what I'm told all the time now. Okay. I will take the information and do my own research, as they say. And so we're unraveling some of this stuff, some of these mysteries.
Well, it makes you wonder why they don't want us to know about dragons and making everyone think that they're fake. Must have been something very mystical, you know, behind it that they don't want us to know about. So they had to bury it, cover it up.
Yes, just like giants. Yes,
Yeah.
Brian. Hey, yes. Game of Thrones, dire wolves, dragons, giants, soft
Yes.
disclosure. I believe so
Yep.
too. I think a lot of these movies and shows, it's like the Matrix. That was like a documentary, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It
That's
just
my
makes
opinion.
makes you wonder, when, like we were talking before, if you actual channel and tie into the power of the dragon, you know, how powerful could you be? And maybe that's what they're afraid of, that we'll start unraveling all these mysteries because of us having the information and the downloads from the dragon.
Wow.
If you think
Yeah.
about the Game of Thrones, she was so timid and quiet and shy at the beginning until the dragons came along. Then she got more stronger, if you think about it. And the more they grew up, the more stronger she got. She turned into a totally different character because of the dragons.
You're talking about Khaleesi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Look
the
how
Game of
shy
Thrones.
and timid she was at the very beginning, and then how she changed towards the end once the dragons came around.
Well, shoot, yeah. If I had a dragon to ride like that, I'd be pretty badass myself. You know. Yeah,
I
I
want a
mean,
pet
nothing,
dragon.
nothing can touch you. I mean, other than other, I think other dragons could, hurt you and stuff. And there's
Well,
way to slay the dragons, but
she obviously couldn't be hurt by fire because she walked out of all those fires.
Right.
that's right, man. I got to go back and watch Game of Thrones. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And then they did like a break off show called, what was it called? The drag something. It's just about dragons. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
But
that's the second series of how the Khaleesi's family, the House of Dragons.
House of Dragons. That's it. Yes, I haven't seen that one yet.
That's how
Yeah, I
But
she
haven't
came.
seen it either.
They show the lineage of how she became from her father and grandfather, how she became into power. It's kind of a behind the
Ah.
scenes before.
yeah, well, they had different types of dragons and different names for all their dragons. I mean, just like we have our pets today, we all have names for them and stuff. And I
What
don't know,
about the never-ending story? They kind of made it look like a fluffy dog type dragon that was very friendly and loving, and
That's
what?
right. With a Leyu. That's
Yeah,
right.
was it a dog or was it a dragon or was it both?
It was all of it. Well, they say
Yeah.
that in the Chinese symbology of the dragon, it's a whole big mix of different animals all put together, like deers and lobsters and
Right. Yep.
snakes and all that. So yeah, I have a million things going through my head right now. I watched something the other day that was talking about cats not being totally like a cat, like a big cat, like a panther or a tiger. Cats, like a domesticated cat, is a mix between a large cat and a snake.
Whoa.
Oh my God! Now talk about a rabbit hole. Okay, a snake and like not from this world, basically. Yeah.
Well, also, if you go back in literature and read some of the story, some of the literature of dragons, that some of them could talk, and we have that portrayed in the movies where some of them actually talk to humans.
Yeah, and they a lot of times they do telepathy. They use telepathy.
Yeah.
By means of
mind
speaking.
speak with Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I mean,
Yeah. I don't know. Well, and then we go into like griffins and other types of cryptids. They're like chimeras of a whole bunch of different species of animals, just like these dragons. Okay, a lot of them could be a type of a chimera. Maybe the Earth is a laboratory, like Barry Littleton says. Okay, maybe it is a laboratory, and they're just maybe dragons are an experiment. Like maybe some of these other cryptids have been. Maybe we're the experiment too.
We're opening up new rabbit holes.
We are. So we just opened up some new portals here.
You could probably end up going like 1,000 different directions off this show today.
That's why I've been hesitant to like keep talking about some of this stuff, because it's just so vast. Like there's so many different forks in the road that we can take, and like there's a lot to talk about, and a lot of more research that we can do on this, and that's right, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, what does that say? Maybe we are in a timeline where all other possible timelines are revealing themselves. Holy cow! Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said that I was telling Geryl I really like this timeline. Okay, because it's like everything is just real. Okay, like it's almost like I woke up one day and it's like, oh, well, all these paintings, all these things, it's kind of almost like admitting it's real. Everybody's doing their research into it now. A lot of stuff was just here. It's not all mythology. So I think you're right.
It's amazing that, in this time that we're in, that people are becoming open-minded and raising their vibrations and their frequencies, and they're trying to connect to their higher consciousness. Now, all of a sudden, people are starting to look at these paintings and this literature and movies, and it's like, I never saw that before. Has that been on that painting the whole time? They have paintings. They have paintings from the Vatican in medieval times where there's UFOs. Now, and just like the dragons, we're seeing all these dragons depicted in all these ancient and medieval paintings. So it's like, have they been there the whole time, or is this a new timeline and they're showing up now? Or I mean, how do you know? Because we just kind of looked at them, it's like, oh, that's nice, and we never really looked at them closely.
That's right. I've looked at stuff, but I just feel like everything's kind of coming to like the apex. Is that the word? Or like a
Apex,
culmination? Yeah.
the cream's coming to the top.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm here for it. I'm so excited about this. I'm having so much fun and just exploring this. And I want to look into griffins soon too. That's something that I have not looked into yet. It's like an eagle-headed lion something.
Yeah.
Deer. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll look into those soon too. But
you can go into the Egyptians, of the dog heads and the bird heads of the gods that they had. And I mean, we can go into the Kraken and, like you said, the Griffith. I mean, there's just so many things you can just look in and try to figure out.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's this. I honestly didn't know either. Let's see, James. Never realized how many times and cultures had dragons.
Right.
I didn't either, but when you take the time to think about it and really look it up and see, they're in almost every culture.
Yeah, it's all over.
Or some people could say reptilians. I mean,
like you said, you go into the Aztecs, the Incas, and the Chinese, and the Vikings, and over in Norway they had the Vikings and serpents in the water. You go over the UK and Europe, the what you call the old world, the dragons. I mean, it's everywhere in culture and literature.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is, and I bet everybody that's watching and listening today is going to be noticing dragons more in their lives. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
we'll have to look up the Google statistics and see how many times dragons are Googled today.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and John's talking about the Mandela effect. Okay, and we probably have a lot of Mandela effect going on as well, especially with CERN getting cut back on. I'm just saying. I was told to actually watch for way more Mandela effects after they turned CERN on. I think that was last week or something. But
okay.
Yeah, who's to say that there's not large hadron colliders all over the world being turned on at different times? So
right.
we're just jumping timelines. The best thing that we can do is to raise our vibrational frequency, like you said, Geryl.
Yes.
And to get on our highest timeline personally. Okay. And just to keep striving to be the best version of us we can be, and to enjoy the show, y'all. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the ride.
And since we're Midwest Night Watchers and we started by looking in the skies and the stars, don't forget the ancient folklore. Look it up for Draco the dragon, the constellation in the sky.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's constellations. The constellation Draco.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat actually mentioned that earlier today. I saw. And so yeah, this is amazing information. And I bet you guys, I don't know if you can see it on your telescopes, but y'all have fantastic channels, Midwest Night Watchers and Chi-Rho Sounds over on YouTube. Tell the audience about that and where they can find you guys, because we've come to the end of the hour. Unfortunately.
Wow.
Go ahead, Jane.
Right by fast, isn't it?
Your channel and.
Okay. Well, I also run Midwest Night Watchers and do a lot of the videos and doing my high vibrations in the backyard, bringing things in. But I also have my own channel that has my musical instruments. I do drums, flutes, handpan, tongue drums, sometimes the keyboard and guitar. It's just a wide variety of instruments that I just kind of upload a video and just have fun with. But I mainly focus on the Midwest Night Watchers channel, with the shows that we're doing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I've been hearing that a lot lately. Okay.
So they can find us if they just look up on YouTube or Facebook, Midwest Night Watchers, and also you can email us at midwestnightwatchers@gmail.com. We kept the name across the whole platforms, and we have lots of videos, and we have our podcast, Piercing the Veil, and we have the Night Owl Lounge, where we just sit here and talk with people and chat and show our
which is tonight,
cameras, whether it's deer, animals, or things moving in the sky, whatever happens that night. That's what we talk about and just have fun.
And it's a
Which
lot of fun. I spent my New Year's Eve with you guys for a little while here before I
that
fell
was fun.
asleep. Yeah, you guys had a great New Year's Eve show.
We spent
So.
over 8 hours being online that night, going from the East Coast all the way to Hawaii, bringing in the New Year.
Yeah, because we were on Mike's show before we went live.
Whoa, that's all. That's a long time. I know. I had to
Yeah.
get my beauty rest that night. I got to get all that I can get. So.
That was a fun night. Talk about being silly. We were so tired at the end, just laughing about stupid stuff. It was a good show.
Time. It was so fun. It was good getting to hang out with y'all because you guys are like family, and you're like that with a lot of people here online, and offline as well. Okay, but I appreciate y'all being here today. What a fun, great show this was today, and we had a wonderful audience today. I want to thank everybody who was in the chat today, and everybody who's listening, everybody who gave the super stickers and super chats and stuff. Thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that, and yeah, you guys join me tomorrow night. I'm going to be back here at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. As it stands right now, I have Arkeem Ra coming back. We're going to, I believe we're going to be titling this show. I have remote viewed a blind target for him. I believe we're calling it the Robot Grandma. Oh, it is so wild. You can only, y'all can only imagine the Robot Grandma. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Again.
That's going to be good.
The Robot Grandma. I mean, it's wild. My data was wild, y'all. It's going to make for a great show. Yeah. It's
that was a Twilight Zone or something too, where the family ordered a robot grandma to take care of the children.
No way. Well, that's kind of what this is about. Okay.
Like a nanny?
Oh, it's the rabbit hole and a half. Okay. It's going to be wonderful. So y'all come back and join me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Arkeem Ra. Okay. Well, Geryl and Jane, thank y'all so much for being here. Man, I love it when you guys are on the show with me.
Oh, we love coming on your show.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we'll do it again soon. Okay. You guys have a wonderful day. Everybody stay safe out there. And remember to look up to the sky, watch for dragons. All right. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Bye, y'all.
Keep looking up.